They definitely don't have that. They're smarter than your domestic dog, but they definitely have an aloof attitude. So I actually train them like I did a red fox. I used to work with red foxes and train them, and cats. Like they're just so aloof, super smart, but won't listen to you every single minute of the day. Now, another adaptation of these guys. If you look at Pocket's base of the skull, that's actually the widest part on her body, is her base of her skull. So widest part. If they can get this head through, they're so flexible, they can manipulate. Don't do this to your dogs at home. So see how that leg's going straight? Our domestic dogs physically cannot do that. Please don't try it. Okay, they cannot do that. So if this head goes through a hole, a wombat burrow, a hinge lock fence to get to stock, she will manipulate her whole body that is super flexible to get through the same size hole. Again, nothing like your dogs at home. They have rotational wrists, just like a human hand. They can open a doorknob and a slide bolt. And if we don't shut our doors right, they're gone. So you got to make sure your doors are shut properly. They have a wider jaw, they have longer canines and teeth. They actually have a wider eye socket, and their ears are covered in hair all on the inside. It doesn't happen with a lot of our domestic dogs. I actually watched a documentary late last night on the ABC, and they were talking about how dingoes can hear your heartbeat. Their senses are 100 times stronger than a domestic dog. And dogs are very good. Dogs can sniff out cancer, dogs can sniff a lot of things out. These guys are 10 times better. So they're just an amazing animal. Now, another thing with their feelings, I'm copping the pats today, which is great. And a year ago, I was one of their favourite keepers. And then I had a few months off. I came back, she didn't want to bar with me. She didn't want anything to do with me. And then we had COVID, so we had to, 7 on, 7 off. There was always someone here, but there were different people all the time. So they lost interest in some of us. So out of their favourite keepers ended up being not us, and we had to earn that trust back. So it was pretty cool to watch. And you come in here on civvies when we were shut, so normal clothes, they didn't want nothing to do with us. But that's a real dingo. Some days they like you, some days they don't. So you got to make sure you understand the breed. Now this may happen, you might hear some verbal soon, just like that. They're very verbal, they're very dramatic, very dramatic. I'm sure it doesn't tickle with Robert touching her, but they can't bark, so they use a lot of verbalization, so they've got a lot of vocals. And that's where you have to know the animal as well. So if you come in here and they've just had a tick, don't go and intervene. It's only me that does it. I'm pretty good with reactive dogs. So if they're going too far, we'll try to stop that, because we don't want, they do push the limits a little bit too much. Now you get different colourisations of dingoes throughout Australia. So most of the common ones are this colour, blend into the sand and the arid environments. And then you can get some white ones. We've got a white one in the back of the house that blend into the snow and the cooler environments. And then you can also have rainforest dingoes, which are black and tan. And the canopy of the trees and the shadows, they blend into that. But if you go into the middle of Australia, there's so many different looks of the dingo. They're so different, depending on what part of Australia they're from and where they are. So they're just an amazing animal. Now, if you do go in the wild and you see one, don't go and touch it. You shouldn't be touching anyone's dog that you don't have permission. You shouldn't be touching any wild animal. So you've got to make sure our younger generation, our kids, if you do go camping and there's these guys around, don't touch one. It's not going to end well. Okay, they're a wild animal. You do not touch them. You just got to be a little bit more responsible than we are, because we think everything's not going to hurt us, and then people get bitten. Unfortunately, it's children who get bitten a lot. Genetic-wise, the most purebred genetics are on Fraser Island. Fraser Island's got amazing genetics. The CSIRO did a study 3 years ago, and they tested 5,000 canids. And out of the 5,000 canids, 64% of them came back with decent genetics. It's actually more than we thought, because these guys get the blame when we crossbreed them. They might look like a dingo, but if you crossbreed a dingo with a domestic animal, it's called a wild dog. And then those wild dogs, not dingoes, those crossbred animals are going to kill more stock, They're going to devastate more native animals, and these guys get the blame. It's not their fault. A purebred dingo eats what it needs to. It eats 5% of stock in Australia. That's not a lot. There's enough rabbits, there's enough foxes, and there's enough cats to eat. It doesn't have to go kill a farmer's stock. And that's what I like about them as well. They eat a lot of feral animals. So not a domestic cat, but wild cats, feral cats, uncontrollable. Rabbits, uncontrollable. The fox, no one will ever eradicate the fox. They're too smart for us. These guys help with that. They also help with our native population. Before the 2019-2020 fires, there was in excess of 2 kangaroos to every human in Australia. So they estimated 50 million kangaroos in Australia, 5 million bored every few years. We need animals to help control populations. And that's why these guys are so needed in Australia. I've been to Fraser Island a few times, and every time I go up there, tourists want them gone. It's their home, it's not ours. It's a privilege for us to be there. It's a privilege for us to see these guys in the wild. We have no right to say a native animal has to be gone. We actually don't know how many animals we have in Australia. Why would you want these guys gone? So we have to be more responsible as humans, so we all can live together with each other, with animals, and then we don't have to fight each other. So all we have to do is make sure that we're responsible. Lock up your food when you go camping. Don't leave your campsite with a heap of food on it. They're going to come to it. Food's the best thing on the planet. If you're camping, I camp a lot. And if I camp around an area where there's native animals or dingoes, I don't take my dogs with me. My dogs come everywhere with me. But I won't take them if there's dingoes around or a heap of kangaroos or wombats. So you just got to be responsible humans and responsible pet owners. And if for some reason you do want one of these guys as a pet, do your research. I love them. I love working with them. I personally wouldn't own one. It's not suitable for my lifestyle. I live on 2,000 acres. I work very hard. My dogs for a living. They're working every day of their life. I've got stock. I like native animals coming around my property. They know my dogs aren't a threat. They're a predator. So they're not going to come around my area if I've got these guys. And my fencing's 900 high. I'm not keeping one of these guys in. So you've got to make sure, remember those rotational wrists, they'll get out anywhere. They can jump straight up 2.5, 3 metres. When they were young, they used to sleep up in this tree, right here. They used to come in and they're just perching up here. And they've just gone bloop and jumped up there. So they are very good escape artists. That's just who they are. They don't want to be in a backyard. They just don't. Saying that, wait, don't have to prove it, buddy. Come here. You're too big, the tree's not big enough. Come here. So they are very, very good. You're funny. You can hear ghosts. It's dinner time. He's impatient. So with these guys, just be in New South Wales, Western Australia, you are allowed to own a dingo as a pet. In any other state, it's either highly illegal or you have to get a permit. Now saying that, I personally wouldn't own a Chihuahua either. That's not suitable for me. There's nothing wrong with those animals. It's just not suitable for my lifestyle. So get an animal that's suitable for you. And no, I don't think a dingo is. Me personally. So they are a pretty cool animal, but to see these guys in the wild is the best thing ever. Do you guys have any questions? What we're going to do, if you want to hang out, we're going to go to the koalas, and you might see a little koala Joey. If not, thank you so much for coming to Sydney Zoo, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you.
Thank you. There you go.